Hello, my name is Matthew, and I've had off work for the past few days. It's been a really nice break, and I've lucked out with the weather the past 2 days, and it looks like tomorrow are going to be just these beautiful autumn days. It's cool in the morning, the air is crisp, the whole day sort of warms up and uh, feels lovely. The air smells clean and the sky feels quiet. It's just bright blue and peaceful. And I've been enjoying my time off. I've been reading a lot and thinking about how lovely how lovely the days are, but how distinctly autumnal they are. It's still, without an alarm clock, it's still dark out when I wake up, and there's significantly less daylight. It's darker earlier. And I've just been thinking about my reading this year, what I've read this year, having a channel and making videos where before you make the video, you really put a lot of consideration in at the beginning of the year and thinking, what are my goals? What am I going to be reading? What do I want to read this year? And to be 3/4 of the way through the year and to just take some stock. How well have I done? Have I read the things that I wanted to read? And also, I think very importantly, are my interests the same now as they were 10 months ago? And I feel like I've had a very good, a very productive reading year. Much more adventurous than what I was expecting. I thought I would be doing more rereading or trooping along through classics. And instead, I read The Hobbit and the trilogy of The Lord of the Rings, which surprised me in ways that I never would have expected. I fell into those books and loved them. It, I had a month of nearly aimless wandering after I finished them, after having such an experience, the feeling that everybody looks for when they're reading. You just fall into a book in a whole world of distractions now where you never have to be bored. There's always television on, there's always the internet and community forums, endless, infinite YouTube videos to watch. And to come across a book that is always demanding your attention. When I was reading The Lord of the Rings, almost anything I was doing in my leisure time, other than reading those books, I was being pulled back. I wanted to put my phone down. I was less interested in looking at pictures or watching videos. I really just wanted to read those books, and they were long. It just went on, unwinding this world with these funny hobbits, and I loved it. Also, with my book club of two with Steve Donahue, I couldn't be happier. We've read some heavy hitters, the Odyssey and the Iliad, which I didn't expect I would be reading this year at all. Not one of them, but both of them. And the comic books. I got some grumbling about, comic books aren't very serious, or maybe it's not the best use of someone's time, but they are quick and fun and a visual medium. And I think how almost as soon as people started writing books, we were trying to figure out how to add a visual element, whether it was putting people on stage or adding, when books became printed and published, adding illustrations that would be in the books, or those ornate painted, handmade books. Of course, now having television and movies. And I think comic books do such a great job combining the visual and literary elements together. And I like that there's stories about heroes. Steve and I had read the books of Homer just so closely. We were leapfrogging between comic books and Homer. It's hard not to make the comparison of how instinctual it is to enjoy the stories of heroes, and I loved that. Though I do have, I was sitting here thinking, what have I missed? What were the things that I was really thinking about and hopeful that I would be reading this year, getting things under my belt, checking things off. And there are two major authors' books that I was very hopeful at the beginning of the year. And it's Livy, the books of Livy, and Chaucer. And I started maybe 2 years ago, something like that. I was reading through the Norton Anthology, enjoying it, and came across Chaucer, and I read the general prologue and maybe the next story after that. And I thought I would read Chaucer. And so I got this Penguin Classic. I've had it for a while now. And it's just the original, Middle English Chaucer. And I started it. And I found it much more accessible than I thought it would be, just reading the first few lines. But I found that if I read it out loud, if I could just kind of catch that cadence, feel the phonetic sounds of the words, it was understandable. I found I was paying too close attention to understanding each word, that I would read a page or a few pages and realize that I'm not really absorbing what the larger story is. And so I thought I would switch to the Neville Coghill translation. I got this a while later, and I thought what I'll do is I can read a modernized translation, get an understanding of what the stories are, and then go back and read Chaucer in the original. And it pretty much didn't happen this year at all. There was one day that I can remember where I spent some time reading the Canterbury Tales, the Neville Coghill translation. But something like these two books, if I put my mind to it, by this time of year, within 10 months, with just a little bit of effort, a couple times a week, I could have read these, and it just didn't happen. The nice thing about reflecting on this in autumn is the year is not over. And then the other major work that I still very much want to tackle is Livy. And again, I thought, I'll show all of them. It's Daphne. Maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I just, sight unseen, but bought online the whole works of Livy. And I got the Oxford Classics. Monumental. Huge. And I've gone back and forth. I do go back to Livy sporadically. I have done that for about a year now. This is the first book, so much I can say that I've read starting at the beginning. And I remember at the beginning of the year thinking, because these are broken up, this is books 1 through 5. If I read one book a week, one book a fortnight, I would have by now finished it. At some point I thought, well, maybe I'm just starting at the boring parts. And I got The War with Hannibal, and this is the Aubrey de Selencourt translation. And I thought I'll start with the exciting bits, and then maybe just kind of get an ear for Olivia's voice. And it's not so much not being interested in reading Livy. I've been so much more interested in reading other things. And I'm not a terribly fast reader, and though for as long as I can reasonably remember, I read every day. I read an hour, a few hours, sometimes on days off. I can read for a whole afternoon and evening and night, read for almost the whole day when the mood strikes me. But most of the time, I'm a slow reader, and I have the chunks throughout the day that I have to myself. And every time you sit down with a book, there's a decision. Which person do you want to sit down and listen to and interact with? I certainly don't regret what I've read this past year, but it's nice to take a moment and think about what are the things that you want to read, and how do you go about making decisions when you have that leisure time. And so I'm not giving up on Livy, I'm not giving up on Chaucer, but I still want to read fantasy and comic books and my dirty French novels and my big complicated Russian novels and everything else. And so, the year is not over yet. So thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you've been reading. Leave a comment if you would like. And thank you. Take care.